Okay, let's try and go through how to write a killer thesis for a literary analysis essay. I've come up with this formula based on working through theses with lots of students, and I think this is one that can work. And so let's go through what it is. So my formula, if you can see, is interpretation. We want an interpretation of the novel. What does it mean? How does it mean that is what you're going to elaborate on it, but we need a clear meaning of the novel. So generally, I think you start with the topic because often we are doing in-class essays with an unseen question. So you look at rewriting that topic into a sentence and then you add to it. Now, the adding to it is talking about emotional characteristics, whether it's the emotions of the character or the emotions of a theme. We'll get to that a little bit, but basically you're trying to put these emotive words in, whether it's like or words that describe the way someone behaves, sort of thing, so that we can get a deeper meaning. So whether that's arrogance or ambivalence, those sorts of words are the ones that are really going to show the marker that you actually understood it and have an idea. Obviously, you want to choose words that actually relate to the novel or play. Then you're looking at theme or character, and we'll go through that a little bit deeper. And then you need a result. And I'm telling you now that the result is the most important part of the thesis. Without a result, you're not looking at a high-level thesis. You're looking at a low-level basic thesis that doesn't quite go anywhere. We don't know what your interpretation of the novel is really, because this is the so what. Okay? So you start with the topic of the question. Generally, if you are writing your own thesis or for like you've got freedom of choice, or you're going based on the questions that the markers generally provide for you, these are the questions they ask. They ask about character. So this is characterization. So how is the character developed? What shapes them? What key events are a part of their life? What other characters, how do they relate? How do they impact them? What are their values? What do they believe? And how do they behave? These are the things that we want to know in order to understand how they're portrayed. Okay, then you're looking at theme or concept. Now, often the questions are going to have the concept there because the difference between those two is very clear. A concept is just the idea, the word, whereas the theme is the interpretation of that word. So if you're looking at Harry Potter over the whole series, you're going to say that the concept, one of the concepts is love. Okay, but what's the theme? You can very easily say that the theme of Harry Potter is that love triumphs over evil. Okay, so that would be a very clear distinction between the two. Then the question could be about aesthetic features, so literary devices such as symbolism, imagery, metaphors. How does the author or playwright use these to enhance meaning? Okay, how do they help create the characters? So if you wanted to delve into this sort of thing, you could look at the use of symbolism within it. Like all really good literature is going to have a symbol. And what does it mean? How does it help shape the reader's understanding of that character or that theme? Less often, but sometimes there's questions about the setting. So how important is the place, the time and the place that the novel or play is set in? And they could be looking at how that impacts the character or how that creates an overall concept, possibly. Again, less often, there can be something about the context. So this could be cultural assumptions, which is a key term. So you're looking at questions about how does their values, beliefs based on culture help create that character. And then finally, there can also be a plot question. So how significant is this event within the whole story? And you kind of have to analyze that. Okay, so based on that, you take part of the question and you try and write it as a statement. That's the best place to start. Then you're looking at emotions. So emotions or characteristics. So this is either characteristics that the character has or that the character feels, have or feel, emotions that they feel, or that the reader feels about them. Okay, so things like arrogance. This character is very arrogant, or this character displays an obsession. we are looking at these sorts of words that create, or the audience is left feeling underwhelmed, or they're feeling disgusted by the character's actions, sort of thing. These are the things that really show, oh, they've got an understanding, this is good. Then, depending on the question, you want to add in what's lacking. So generally, and I say generally, there's a lot of character or concept questions. Sometimes there's aesthetic and sometimes there's plot. Very rarely have I seen many setting or context questions, but they could pop up, so I've added them there. But depending on what question, so if you've got a question that's saying, how has this character been represented within the novel, then that's a character question. And that's great, because it means that if you've studied a theme and you know everything about that theme, you can put that theme in there. Okay, you can link it to that character and go, oh yeah, that character shows that theme, fantastic, tick that box. If they have a theme question of how is this topic presented within the novel, then you basically need to link a character or characters in, going, okay, you either look at the character over time or you look at different characters. So this character shows the theme in this way, this character shows the theme in that way, and this character shows it that way, but overall it's a consistent idea. And then this is the top-notch, really important part. What is the result, impact, or effect of this theme on the character? Or what is the result, impact, or effect for the reader? The so what. Why is this important? What happened in the end? What happens to the character in the end? What happens to the reader in the end? They're the things that you really want to give as part of your thesis, please. So let's look at a quick example. Okay, so we have been studying The Secret River. So Kate Granville's great novel. We are looking at this question. So it is, analyze how the representation of another male character in the novel, of other male characters in the novel, positions the reader to view Thornhill. Okay, so this is a character question. It's asking you to look at how, my apologies, how other characters are represented and how that makes the reader feel about Thornhill. Okay, so the two main characters in the novel in relation to Thornhill are going to be Blackwood and Smasher. They're the two really strong ones. So I don't think I covered this. It was there in the slide up here. But you could potentially add aesthetics. If it fits with your novel, with your interpretation of the thesis, you can add it in. It's not essential. It is expected throughout the rest of your essay that you would talk about aesthetics, but it's not like I'm going, oh, gee, I didn't talk about aesthetics in the thesis. It would be okay. It's just assumed that you're going to elaborate on that in your thesis, in your essay. So if we go back here, I happen to have been able to add in, because the author Granville very clearly puts Blackwood and Smasher as two opposing ideas, which is juxtapositioning. Fantastic. I sound so much more smarter. So the juxtaposing representations of Blackwood and Smasher, so representation of another male character, that's straight from the question, okay? I haven't tried to use different words. You try to use the words that they use in the question in your thesis so that it's very clearly I'm answering the question. Okay, so then I've got my emotive word. So good versus evil, that is their representation. Blackwood's good, Smasher's evil. Great, it doesn't have to get that complex. Okay, then I've got a causes the reader. Okay, so I've started this. Now, I also happen to go a bit further with it because I want to add in more emotion, as much emotion as I can to show that, or characteristics to show that I'm actually giving a perspective here, okay? Without these emotive words, you are not offering a perspective on the character. You are just telling me that there is characters in the novel and they represented and it impacts Thornhill. Okay, that is not a thesis. That could be anyone. Anyone could be influenced by characters in some way. Okay, so we need to add in the emotions or the characters to show specifics. Okay, so we have, he's a reprehensible man, so it causes the reader to view Thornhill. So, reprehensible man, that is motive. potential for respect. So there is a potential that we could respect him, but the result is, this is the result, causes the reader to view him as a reprehensible man because he is undermined by his selfish obsession. And then again, I add in my concept, ownership. Okay, so I'm going to elaborate on that as I go through, but basically he is selfishly obsessed with ownership. And that means that the reader does not like him in the end. Okay, so that is a good thesis to start with. And if you could try practicing and working on it, that would be great. Have a great day and all the best.